All right. Welcome to the Nomu Hour. I'm Juanma, I'm your host. And today we have the first episode. We have my friend Amir here. He has over 8 years experience in project management and business development in the sports industry. And then now he's the founder of Delta 3, which is a Web3 software company that he's going to tell us about. And then just a little fun fact, we met at Krause House, which was a project that aimed at buying an NBA team collectively. So we've known each other for some time now, and yeah, welcome, Amir.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Being the first guest is always a little nervous, but hopefully we'll have a nice, cozy conversation, and hopefully, we'll dive into some interesting stuff together.
Yeah, for sure. We can do it more times so that people can see the progress.
Yeah, progress.
Yeah. So to start off, I want you to tell everybody about your journey from the whole like sports experience you have to Web3 to now being an entrepreneur. How has that journey been like?
Yeah, man. Look, my sports journey began when I was 5. I picked up my tennis racket and I found myself in tennis courts, like playing tennis. And then, I realized like I love sports. And luckily, my primary and high school were the same, and the school was built in a sports facility. So I was able to play basketball, I able to do swimming, track and field, all sorts of sports stuff. And like when I graduated from there, I was like, my personality was built with sports. So, you go on to the college years, it's the time where you supposedly explore what you want to do in life in terms of career. So when I look back um, during my college years, I was like, okay, sports is something that has never changed.
Yeah.
I see business, and what's going to happen next? And I was like looking into different type of fields of sports, and luckily, I came across sports business. What's really happening off the pitch. Behind the
Yeah.
stages, how clubs are paying millions of dollars to those players, and how this whole industry became a huge economy. So
Yep.
yeah, I got into my master's program at NYU, and it was an amazing program. I had the privilege to meet with all of the very important people in sports industry, and then I worked a little bit in Major League Soccer, and then I got into sports marketing, and I've been in this industry over 10 years now. And in 2018, I came across this thing called blockchain, and
Yep.
how it's so innovative, how it's going to change the way we will behave in the digital world. And I was like, okay, let me try to understand. So I tried to understand what the technology meant. It was I don't have an engineer background, so it was a little too difficult, but I got some basic principles. And in 2021, the whole like ICO boom, and then the NFT boom, followed by the NFT boom. I
Yep.
dived into the space. We met in one of the most interesting projects out there,
Yep.
buying an NBA team.
Yeah, that was pretty
What a
crazy.
mission. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And actually, what gave me the idea about what we are building now at Delta 3 is my experience in Krause House. Not
Yeah.
in a different way. Like I purchased my membership NFT in OpenSea. I went to Krause House Discord channel, connected my wallet, and the system automatically unlocked those private channels. And then we went to. Oh, are we here?
Yeah. It froze for a little bit. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying, like, I connected to Discord to unlock private channels, and then I went to the Krause House website, connected wallets, received my tokens. We went to Snapchat to vote. Like, I
Yep.
was like, oh my God, this is all interconnected, and it's super seamless. Once you get the hang of using the wallet, it becomes super seamless to travel across the internet.
Yeah.
So I that's like kind of gave me an idea about how future memberships could be. Um, so let me pause there, laid out so many things, but that was like more or less the journey. That
Okay.
yeah,
I feel like for many people like me or you who always loved sports, and maybe we couldn't be professional athletes even though we wanted to as as youngsters. You know, doing sports business or having a company related to sports is like a kind of like a relief, and truly working on what you like.
yes. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. My internet connection,
Yeah, it's freezing a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if
it's a little sloppy for some reason.
yeah.
Yeah, it should be good now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was saying that for guys like me and you who always loved sports, and I mean, I wanted to be a professional athlete when I was younger. I'm sure you did too. We watched the NBA and we're like, yeah, one day we'll be there, whatever.
yeah,
But then when you grow older, you realize that you're probably not going to be able to achieve those dreams. So you try to get there through a different manner, which is very interesting.
yeah. You try to, it's something you love,
Yeah.
because I think it's sports is amazing. Like, it's basically rehearsal of
Hello.
life. That's how I put it. You you ki- you kind of practice life in competition, in sports competitions. So that's what I loved about sports. Doing sports. When you like win a game, you learn how to act when you win. When you
Yeah.
lose a game, you do the same. So I
Yeah.
think this is pretty much what happens in life. Sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, but
Hmm.
what really matters is how you act at those moments. That's what defines the person, and you get to practice that in sports quite often. That's what I loved about sports.
Nice. And can you tell us a little bit of what you're up to with Delta Three? How how you guys doing? We know how the idea came about, but just a little. So yeah, you've told us how Delta Three came about. Can you tell us a little bit of how you guys doing? What projects are you involved with? What are your future plans?
Yeah, sure, man. So Delta Tree. So I was working with sponsors, clubs, leagues, broadcasters. I basically worked with all the major stakeholders that puts together the whole industry. And clubs are really the driver of this economy. You know, they have to be structured super well so that they can afford uh, the the salaries of the players, and they come together to form the leagues, and then they have to put together a good organization so that the broadcasters would pay more, and uh, domestic and international broadcasters like pay to broadcast that to the global audience. And when you look at all of these teams, like, it's like a rule across the spectrum. Most of them have financial problems, and you look at the numbers, like social media numbers of these clubs, millions. Like, I'm
Yep.
talking about like the top clubs,
Yep.
millions of followers, plus the followers of the players. It becomes like one of the biggest media organizations out there when you merge all those numbers. But there is super limited monetization tools that these clubs have. They're mostly about through ticketing and merchandise sales, or like game day revenue, and which only corresponds to more or less 1 to 5% of their overall audience. And
Mm-hmm.
the remaining 95% is out there without any meaningful interaction,
Wow.
And so we looked at these numbers, and then we were like, why not? Why don't we create a platform where clubs engage with their global fan base, offer something valuable that for the people who cannot go to the matches, go to the museums, or be there in person to experience the team.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, let's create this platform, a white label platform. Let's let clubs upload their branding, the virtual world, because it should be club's experience, not ours, because the emotional connection of the fan is with the club. So why lose that, That's why we wanted to do a white label platform. So the clubs upload their content there, and then we have all payment infrastructure built in the platform. And as players land on this page, they pick what type of membership they want to be part of. It could be free, it could be paid, whatever the club decides. And then they subscribe to the team, and then they unlock this gated platform where they can engage with clubs,
Mm-hmm.
exclusive content, voting mechanisms, and community forums where people can have conversations with each other. So we built this platform on those 3 pillars, and everything comes in as a turnkey platform. So clubs don't have to worry about developing a platform or maintaining it. So we take care of all of that and help those clubs kind of save money and resources and time.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting because when I was doing some research preparing for this interview, I read an article about how sports fandom is changing,
Mhm.
and one of the main aspects that they were pointing out in the article was that, for example, the NBA is the most followed league. The players are, LeBron James is like one of the most famous guys in the world,
Right.
but the ratings are not getting better. Like full games, seems like people are not watching that many full games anymore. They're rather watching highlights on social media, on YouTube. How do you think that clubs are going to react to that? How would you tackle that from a sports guy that you are?
Yeah, so consumer behavior is changing because
Yeah.
there's so much competition to get people's attention or
Mm.
a portion of their time throughout the day. So let's say you are sleeping like 8 hours a day, that, what you're left with almost like 16, 15 hours of daylight. And then, you have to like kind of do your basic stuff. Let's say
Yep.
10 to 12 hours a day, where your attention is kind of out there, and you spend it on social media or watching a movie. So it's a fight against people's attention. So I think highlights is part of that. Sometimes
Yep.
people cannot spend 2 hours of their time to watch a full NBA game or a football game. So, but it doesn't mean they don't like it. It means that they don't want to spend that much of time compared and then spend it somewhere else. But
Yep.
me personally, I love watching highlights because NBA, for example, I'm right now in Istanbul. The all NBA games
Yeah.
mostly takes place in like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m., like very different time zones. So that's why I choose to consume that content through the highlights.
Yeah.
What they post on social media, and I love it. There are Turkish guys there. There are amazing plays out there. It's super.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoy.
Yeah. I think it also, like what you,
Can we?
Delta 3 also tackle. Yeah. Sorry. Well, as I was saying, I think that Delta 3 is aiming at changing the revenue model of sports franchises, as you said, because right now they rely on the TV contracts and all that stuff like way too much.
Yeah.
And since viewership is going down, even if they're getting more eyeballs through social media, that doesn't count for those TV channels. So I feel like what you're describing is just a difference in the way that people will consume and a difference in monetization, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So like social media companies are like monopolies. They own the data, and they
Yeah,
monetize the data. And some of them share with the organizations or the creators that are on the platform, and some of them don't. Like some platforms don't share anything.
yeah,
So, like for example, like Instagram, huge business. Clubs of course have their own presence, but the way they monetize their influence on Instagram is through brand partnerships. So basically, it's a indirect way of monetizing that audience. But
yeah.
what we want to do is to put clubs, um, make clubs own that relationship with their fans. So that's our objective. We want to create that direct link where clubs kind of owns their own data instead of like an intermediary.
And what do you think needs to happen for those sports organizations to start embracing Web3, start introducing it to their core business models? I always think about ChatGPT being kind of like a catalyst for AI.
Mhm.
People were talking about AI since 2015, 2017,
Yeah.
but it didn't really start going off until ChatGPT came out. So do you think there needs to be Delta 3 can be that next that platform that gives it away? You think is regulation? What happened with Bitcoin? What do you think needs to happen for Web3 to become more adopted in that space?
I think regulation is, of course, a key point, like
Yeah,
because it's a way to protect people. It's regulation sounds kind of I don't know, like something super serious that that doesn't have like that enthusiastic vibe, but it's super necessary
yeah,
because people has to know the boundaries, where what is like right and what is not. So I think it's super important. I think usability, like AI is not a new concept. It's been there for
yeah,
maybe decades. But what ChatGPT has done is, it made it usable to
yeah,
a mass audience. Like I was able to write something up there and then get a response. And I was able to use and experience AI. That's why I think ChatGPT became super big and influential, like impactful. So I think what what's happening with Web3 is, I think what we have experienced in 2021 is a very kind of a unuser friendly version of
yeah,
this what this whole space could be. And I think the use cases weren't strong. You know, people were double downing on collectibles. Like it's not something you do in your ordinary life. You
yeah,
don't you don't collect. Like many people don't collect.
yeah,
But because some people made huge money off of these collections, it became a hype and then ended up dying because there wasn't anything intrinsically, there's no intrinsic value,
Yeah.
most of the projects. So I think what's really going to happen and what we are hoping to do is use the technology for an area that's been already in use, such as
Hmm.
memberships, and then create the next phase of that area, like evolve that area with the technology.
Yeah.
Because I think what blockchain did is introducing a new way of organizing money and people.
Yeah.
I think that was what that's what I took from it. And now, what we are trying to do is to introduce a new way of organizing digital communities and generating value. So this is our objective there. So for this reason, we have integrated blockchain elements into
Okay.
our platform, and everyone who signs up to this using our platform, who signs up to a club using our platform, automatically is onboarded to Web3. And they receive a token that represents their membership to the community. And then that token can be used across various channels that clubs decide to, give benefits or, decides to offer experiences.
Hmm. That sounds very interesting. Um, yeah, I agree with you in your conclusion about blockchain technology and why it's important and why it hasn't been used. Because it is true that when we started getting into it, you did need to study a lot and you know get yourself comfortable and get familiar with the tools that you were using. Trusting sometimes with your
Exactly.
even with your eyes closed. You're when we met, we didn't even know like who we were. We just had our avatars and a weird nickname, and you know, you don't know who's behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I think, too much trust that we put into ourselves. I would have never done that in my ordinary life.
Yeah.
Work together with like a bunch of amazing people
Hmm.
who are trying to achieve a shared objective. But
Yeah.
it was amazing. But I think at one point you had to, there was this one point where you had to reveal yourself in order to kind of build that relationship with each other.
Yeah.
Because staying anonymous is good, but it's also a very limiting factor. If I don't know your name, if I don't know who you are, how are we supposed to build a relationship and
Yeah.
and continue trust? Um, you know, and, and then I think that becomes a little toxic at one point.
Yeah, for sure. I just remember, when we started doing our meetings every Sunday at 8 p.m. I remember that on the metaverse.
On the meta-
we, yeah, yeah. I remember I was telling some of my friends and family, and they were all like, "You're crazy. You're kind of working on a Sunday 8 p.m. with weird people. From different." It was
That's for
pretty
sure.
hard to explain.
Yeah. I mean, I had difficult time explaining, my meetings. What
Yeah.
are you doing on Sunday night with like 10 people? Who are those people? Like, okay, there's this thing called DAO, and you're trying to buy an NBA team, and all of these guys are trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they looked at me like I was an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
here we are.
si- since you mentioned, yeah, here we are exactly. Since you mentioned the DAO, do you what type of concepts do you feel like will come down the road for sports? Because I feel like there's a lot of those concepts that could be applied to sports, could be very beneficial. You yourself said that Delta 3 is kind of inspired by your experience working in Krause House and meeting everybody there, and and using the tools. So how do you think sports will become kind of DAOs, or maybe the fans will form DAOs? How do you think that could work?
To be honest, some of
Yeah.
the clubs are already DAOs. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, look at all the clubs in Germany. They are owned by fans, 50+1 rule. So it's called associations.
Yeah.
The biggest clubs in Turkey are, run by associations, which have 20, 50,000 members in it. And they decide on, the executive committee, the president, and then those people run the club for a specific period of time. And I think that's what a DAO is.
Yeah.
DAO is this. DAOs, like, because it's on blockchain, it's on internet, it makes this whole concept super scalable. It becomes automatically across the board.
Yeah.
Um, so I think fan ownership is not a new concept. It's been there for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm taking that regulation aspect out of the conversation, for now. But
Yeah.
I think, regardless, there has to be some rules, and you can't leave every decision to 5,000, 10,000 people. There should be certain decisions that has to be taken collectively, but there are certain decisions, like daily decisions, strategic decisions, that
Yeah.
have to be done by a small a group of people who are expert in those areas. I mean, okay, I'm a sports fan. I love sports. I've been working in this industry for like so many years, but
Yeah.
who am I to decide which player is the best for the team? It doesn't give me the license. Being a fan doesn't give me the license to be good at that decision making.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a proponent of leaving those decisions to the experts. So you have to have experts, and then you have to have this one huge collective group who decides on the things that impacts them. I think there has to be a hierarchy of decisions, and I think this was
Yeah.
this wasn't the case in most of the DAOs that I've
One
experienced.
second. 1 second. My bad. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, man. I think we will see a lot of DAOs, but we won't be calling them DAOs.
Yeah. Just like NFTs are digital collectibles now.
Well, I've been, uh, you know, uh, telling people not to use NFTs because it confuses people. Like,
Yeah.
first, like I was explaining what we do. Like, we are creating NFTs that represents membership. As soon as people heard the word NFT, they said, "I don't think this is gonna.
Yeah.
This is NFTs went down." I was like, "What? Like, it's not how that works.
Yeah.
NFT is a technological tool that you use for a specific purpose." So yeah, but it was, I think, our problem, our fault, because we said NFTs to everything, like collectibles, like art. They were all NFTs. But they're all different stuff. So that's why I don't choose to use the word NFT in our presentations, in our
Mm-hmm.
presentations. We just say we use blockchain,
Okay.
and that's because we are using it for a very specific purpose. We have to
Yeah,
distinguish what we do with the existing solutions. That's why we use blockchain in our conversations.
that makes sense. Yeah, NFTs have for sure. The name itself has become, a symbol of scam. Sadly, a symbol of the the board apes, the board ape club, all that stuff. Yeah. Moving on, how do you compare, being an entrepreneur, running your own business, to being in a corporation like you were before?
I think each path has its own pros and cons.
Okay.
For example, I had the privilege to work with amazing organizations while I was working in the corporate life. I worked with top organizations such as ATP, WTA, like LaLiga, like clubs, brands, broadcasters. It was an amazing experience. But at one point, I said, I'm living someone else's dream, you know.
Mm,
So I had different dreams that I envisioned for my future. So like I had like so much passion in sports, but at one point, like I was struggling to find a way out because I I felt like I hit a ceiling in where I was,
okay.
um, and I was trying to find my next steps. So during that time, I had to go back. I even questioned whether if I stay in sports or find some other
Yeah.
adjacent
Transition. Yeah.
industry or transition to somewhere else. But I never wanted to leave sports because I just love it. Like I never
Hmm.
feel like I'm working when I'm doing what I do. And it gives me a sense of purpose. Um, so I ended up diving super deep in the existing models and try to, find like creative ways to put together what I was experiencing on Web3. You know, my sports background and my business personality, and then I tried to merge all these together, and it happened over a time. I
Yeah.
was there was never an aha moment. I I investigated like every aspect that I was interested in and tried to find like ways and see how that this would turn out to be in the future. And then I, tested, failed, and then at one point I tested. I said, okay, this is an opportunity
Yeah.
because there's a huge problem. Huge problem. There are like I think three types of problems: um, broken leg, um, like a scar, and a headache.
Hmm.
Right? Headache is a very mild problem. If there's like a headache and if you're trying to solve that headache, the return isn't that much because you're not trying to solve a major problem. A scar is relatively a stronger problem. People will be willing to pay more to solve or heal that scar. A broken leg is when you have a broken leg, you can't move an
Yeah.
inch. It's a broken leg. So the ideal
Yeah.
is to find a broken leg and solve that. But it's always the toughest, of course, finding the broken leg and finding the right solution. So
Hmm.
I feel like we somehow found a problem that is not exactly a broken leg, because the system is still going, but it's a major problem. It's a major pain point. And now, we have a couple of clients already on board and many more on the sales pipeline.
Nice.
Yeah. And we have done in-depth analysis of the potential of the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-blowing. Like for some of these clubs, like if let's say if they execute a good membership model, for example, in Turkey, they can generate more revenue that the league generates from the broadcaster. So that's how big that is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how big of an impact we can create here. But
Yeah.
this isn't today. It's really, it's a journey to get there, but the potential
Yeah.
is there. And we want these clubs to achieve those potentials, like unlock those revenues. And, we are from the industry. That's the good thing about this. We are, we are an interesting mix. We are not purely developers
Mm-hmm.
or purely industry experts. So we are like kind of somewhere.
Translator, kind of.
Yeah, we know what's happening there, and we know what
Uh-huh.
technology can do. So it's like a very interesting mix of two separate spaces, and that's actually our value proposition. Because as we move forward, we will see what the next opportunity will be at. Where will it come from?
Yeah. I agree with what you said, that people think that sometimes starting your own business or being an entrepreneur comes with that aha moment that you described. But as you perfectly said, it's totally a grind, and slowly but surely you start getting closer to the goal, slowly but surely. And if you don't give up, you end up having a use case or a couple of use cases like you have, and then things start looking way better. I think that's a great way of putting what entrepreneurship is. How do you, despite all of that, how do you manage to kind of disconnect sometimes, or, relieve some stress, or stop thinking about your business? Because it can be hard sometimes. You can get caught up in that, and you get frustrated, you get tired. How do you manage all that as in a more personal level?
I mean, the quickest answer is that I don't disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always wired to my business. Like,
Okay.
what I do is I can be at the gym, lifting weights,
All right.
but on the back of my head, like I'm still thinking about the business and because there's so many uncertainties, so many unknowns. It's not like 9 to 6 job, it's
Yeah.
ongoing, because if you don't solve those uncertainties or problems, it's going to be painful for you. Yeah, but I go to gym, I play basketball, so that's me kind of disconnecting. And also I have a lovely wife, and we spend good time together. So we travel, and I try to like designate some like short periods where we do something new together with my wife.
Okay.
I try to like uh, go to a new place, experience new stuff every once in a while, and that really helps me rejuvenate, and then put pull everything together, and then go back to work uh, at a high motivation and performance.
Nice. Yeah, I that's pretty similar to the things that I do. Actually, I also I also do the same things that you kind of describe, and I also don't disconnect too much,
Yeah,
which is sometimes a little bit of a problem. um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, once you start getting some success, of your business, you kind of look at these times, when you were when you were grinding and didn't really know why you were doing it, or how, what the outcome was gonna be like,
Yeah.
which, freaks some people out. Um, and I think those are sometimes the good times, the good memories that you have.
If you became successful and and you look back to the times you're grinding, that's the best scenario.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you're broke, you're like, why did I do all of that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. That's the scenario that you don't want to be in. Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, this is definitely a roller coaster journey. It's
Yeah,
because you are imagining something, and it's up here, and then you're trying to put that together in a meaningful way, so that other people understands what you're proposing and what you're imagining up here. Because
yeah,
I think the first, the toughest cycle is getting your product to the market, because you can't show a use case, you can't prove that you have done
agree.
it and it worked. So basically, you're selling a dream,
Yeah,
and it ends up being how good of a seller you are, and
yeah,
how strongly you believe in what you're doing. And what's your background like? Because at those moments, when you can't show a product or use case or any data, they look at you and see, you know, look at your background, your credentials, and say, okay, could what this guy telling us be real? Does he have all those experiences, wisdom? And then they take a leap of faith with you.
yeah,
You have to be lucky, by the way. Like I knocked on to so many doors, and then this like one group of people who were super visionary. They understood what I was telling them, and then they said, okay, we were trying to explore this space, but obviously, we were not. Membership isn't a core business item for many sports clubs, so they don't have like these departments designated to like running those. So it's super normal to have people that are not very familiar with the concept,
hmm,
but they were experimenting with the space. They had an idea. So I was there at the right time. This is 9 months, 8 months after I started my journey. And
yeah.
before them, I had like 15, 20 meetings, trying to explain the potential here. But it takes one client to start.
I think that's very good advice, for, especially for, those entrepreneurs who are trying to get that first sale, that, as you describe, is the hardest. And I think that also the finding pain points in industries or for companies, as you have explained throughout the conversation, I feel is also one of the main things that you got to do if you want to sell.
Yeah.
You have to find that pain point, that necessity that client might have, and try to aim at it, to attack it,
Yeah.
and explain how you solve it. I think those are the keys to getting that first sale, which, as you said, persistency might be the main reason that you get it, because some people, after they get those 10 no's, you're like, each of them breaks your heart, especially those first ones. You think you have the best idea in the world, you're pitching a great idea, and they're like, "Yeah, don't even, don't bother me with this with this stuff now."
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you have an idea, but you're trying to find if it's a true idea, like the right idea.
Yeah.
and the market decides that.
Mm.
It's it's so like the process is not like, okay, you have an idea, but I think the right track would be to try to validate the idea as soon as possible without investing too much into the process. Because first, okay, I mean everyone has an idea. Like,
Hmm.
I think all of the ideas that you can come up with now is probably thought by someone else in some different part of the world.
Yeah.
But how you validate the idea, get those feedbacks, get those no's as a feedback, try to understand why. Because like this, the way I'm explaining what we do right now is the work of a year of endless effort
Yeah.
of trying to make a better messaging. I wasn't able to maybe I'm not even explaining the best version of the idea right now. Maybe a year
Yeah.
later, 5 years later, I will be explaining it much better. So
Hmm.
this is a process. And when I get those no's, I never took them personally. I was like, okay, I said something, but it didn't resonate, and these are the people that I want to sell to. So I have to work on my messaging, work on how I'm explaining what I do in the way that they would understand quickly. So that's I worked on that so much. Like I decided not to use blockchain. I decided not to use NFTs. I decided, I decided to show the product in a demo.
Mm.
So, and then, for example, one of the prospective clients, I was like, we were having these like 3, 4, 5 meetings with them, and then I said, okay, let me show you what we envision, and we prepared a demo, and they saw it, and they were like, oh, this is super cool. Like,
Yeah.
let's let's go on to the proposal stage. So people are visual.
Yeah.
They need super simple ways of explaining complex ideas, and that's the most difficult part. And if you can show something to them that appeals to them, I think it works super well. At least it worked for us.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree that you need to simplify those ideas and help people visualize. That's why UX UI is so important, and show them as close to a final product as you can, even if you're in a very early stage. And then, of course, the product will for sure change once the project gets going, because things come about.
Yeah,
But I agree that that's very important for potential clients.
yeah.
Uh, how how open do you think the sports industry is to new technology, to change, to adapting to the new ages? The times are changing like quicker than ever. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about AI, ChatGPT, and all the stuff you can do. And I remember I was saying like, yeah, you can do this, now, but you couldn't do it 4 months ago, and that's pretty crazy. That's
Right.
pretty crazy to say. Like, I don't think there's ever been a time before where you could say that. 4 months ago, you weren't able to do this, and people were like, yeah, they agree. So, how do you think the sports industry, you know, tackles these changes, these rapid changes?
I mean, nothing in sports is homogeneous. Like it's not equally spread across the branches of the
Hmm.
sport, the divisions of each branch. So it it it's not like a simple answer, because some of the clubs are super innovative, like NBA. They always experiment the cool stuff. That's how they position actually themselves
Yeah.
within the ecosystem. They like showcase so many different technological, innovative ideas in the past couple of years, like the Top Shot project, the project where you put your face onto a basketball player. It's like it became like innovation actually became one of their value proposition, like
Yeah.
fan engagement. So they've been different. You know, clubs in Turkey definitely approach this differently. In
Mm-hmm.
UK, there are some more conservative branches. There are more innovative branches. You see like ATP, WTA trying to get like more technology built in their offerings. So it really changes. Like LaLiga, for example, like
Yep.
they have an amazing digital team. They really value digital projects. Yeah, but the thing is, and you see Real Madrid, Barcelona trying a lot of stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
other clubs not exactly investing as much as the other ones. So it's a mixture of traditionalism and innovation that is very different from club to club and branch to branch.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard about the Karate Combat League, the DAO that they've formed? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, look at that, karate.
Yeah.
Is it an innovative area, sports area? No, but some people, like visionary people, came together,
Yeah.
built this new concept.
Yeah, for sure.
Sales GP. They are now like tokenized one of the team's ownership, and if you are a registered U.S. Citizen, you can buy a portion of the club as an NFT. So
Mm.
I mean, they have done innovative stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and there are some good projects, and the successful ones will influence the others.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are other type of use cases that help you as a business for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But for example, NBA had an amazing, started the whole Top Shot thing at the
Yep.
very right time. They have generated over $1 billion revenue, but it didn't apply to NFL all day program because
Mm.
it's certainly a more influential league than NBA in US.
In US, yeah.
It's the best, like best of the best. Like it's Americans die for
Yeah.
the whole thing, but it didn't perform half, maybe like quarter of what NBA did. NBA did. So like it's timing, it's the intrinsic value of what you're offering. That's where success comes from, I think.
Yeah. I think that example also can translate to the type of fans that each league has.
Mhm.
I feel like NBA fans, as you described the league, they're very open to change. With, for example, with the play-in season tournament that they did a couple of years ago. Now the in-season tournament, actually. Sorry, it
Mm.
was the play-in a couple of years ago, and now the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
And they've both been pretty good for the league. They've changed the All-Star format, the playoffs format a bunch of times. So I also feel like the type of fan who's actually like the consumer of those sports also influences that. So the timing, as you said, and the market, of course, is the key to the success of that.
Yeah. One of the important elements, the timing. And
Yeah.
when you look at NFL, it's like the whole US.
Yeah.
I was looking at the most watched content, the top 100 contents in US. I think 92 of them are football, American football.
Wow.
Like this is something else.
Yeah.
This is a totally different animal. Like it's, I don't think there is any other country who can give similar ratings
Yeah.
NFL does in US.
Yeah, probably. I mean, La Liga here in Spain is very popular, but of course it's a much smaller country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's, well, I think that in India cricket is very, very, very popular.
Yeah.
In India, Australia, but yeah, I think that in terms of marketing, like the Super Bowl is just its own monster too, with the concert, the events, the celebrities going there. It's for sure just a different animal.
Yeah. And the American marketing is genius. So
Yeah,
that's how I think they have managed. It's a good tradition, and it was a sport that was able to continue its appeal to younger audiences. Unlike like baseball, for example, baseball was
yeah.
super big, but it's been on a declining trajectory for the past couple decades now.
Hmm.
But NFL is always up there. It's a different sport, and you never. It's like NFL generates over, I think, $17 billion per year, 16, 17 billion. It should be some
Hmm.
around that neighborhood. And there's no other league in the world that can generate that amount. Like even the Premier League generates approximately 5 billion pounds per year, and it's the Premier League,
Yeah,
biggest sport out there. Like
yeah,
the football, European football. Um, it's watched across everywhere, but it's 5 billion pounds compared to
yeah.
$7 billion. It's a very interesting.
And that being said, what type of markets are you aiming at? What countries, what leagues, what sports? If you can say it. If you can't, it's fine.
Yeah,
We'll move on.
yeah. I mean, this is we are doing memberships. It's
Yeah.
you can apply this everywhere, like associations, like alumni associations.
Hmm.
They are a membership organization, and they have to transition to digital. And we have, for example, we are a test case with one of the alumni associations, and we are giving our platform to them to see how they would work there. But it's like a very simple
Yeah.
membership platform. So, for example, in Olympics, one of the most watched uh, branch is badminton.
Wow, that's pretty surprising.
Do you know why? Because
Probably in China, it's pretty popular. Probably, right?
in APAC, there are
Okay.
700 million viewers
Wow.
in like badminton, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. I was at Indonesia. It's huge there. Like,
Mm.
I think it's huge in China. Like, Asian market is super different. They have,
Yeah.
instead of like, I see more inclination towards individual sports than team sports in Indonesia, except the cricket. They love like uh, kickboxing, Muay Thai, like badminton. Like China is obviously table tennis. It's different traditions, but
Yeah.
our model applies to all of them. That's the good
Yeah.
thing about it. Like everything is almost the same. The principles are the same. You know, the value proposition is the same. So it's a very vast opportunity.
And are you focusing just on sports, or do you think you could apply it to different industries, as you said? Because since you can apply it to different leagues, maybe you could apply it to other industries slash organizations?
I don't want to tell which
All
industries.
right.
But
Yeah.
I will give a hint. We are targeting uh, industries where the digital communities is left unmonetized.
Okay. All
So
right. Let's
that's
see if people can figure it out.
yeah. Hopefully, in very near future, we will have a couple of interesting use cases.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's I think we're about an hour, so let's start wrapping out. Where can people find you? I'll tag your website here on the YouTube and Spotify description and on my LinkedIn when I publish it. But
Sure.
where can people find you? How can people get some information about your company, your use cases, and then future projects?
Um, I'm frequently on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I think it's a good, uh, you know, channel to reach me. Twitter is obviously another one, and yeah, I mean, email.
Hmm.
Would like email is a direct link. Link. So, but I would say LinkedIn would be the top choice.
Okay. Okay, I'll make sure to link it up everywhere so that
Yeah,
people can find you, and hopefully, you might get a couple leads. Hopefully,
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, we'll see.
That would be great. All
Yeah,
right, thank you for coming by, and let's talk soon.
yeah. Thank you for the invite, Juan. This was a pleasure, and it was great to catch up with you too.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.